to the Golden Cabinet Chinese Medicine Lecture Series. In this lecture we'll be discussing herbal extracts, specifically our KPC extracts that we keep here in our pharmacy. Now historically, plants were boiled over a fire or a stove to make an extract. Today we have fancy machines and different types of technology for extracting them. Another old-fashioned method is tincturing. This is where herbs are soaked in alcohol for several months. The reason that we are extracting plants is so that we can have access to these constituents. Inside of herbs, you have a cell wall. Inside of these cells are where the constituents lie of the plant. In order to get them out, you need some method, boiling or using alcohol. In our pharmacy, we're using KPC granules. These granules are a 5-to-1 extract. This means for every 1 gram of extract, there's 5 grams of herbs. Here's an example of a couple of our KPC extracts. These extracts have a 5-to-1 herb extract ratio. That means for every gram of extract, it's equivalent to 5 grams of crude herb. They are also manufactured in a GMP facility. This means good manufacturing process. They're subject to random testing and batch tested for herbicides, pesticides, and heavy metals to assure maximum safety. In Chinese medicine, not only plants are herbs, we also use minerals and animal products as well. Each herb has its own specific cooking time. Historically, when herbs were cooked over a fire or a stove in a pot, herbs would be put into the pot at different times. For instance, rocks and roots might go first, and then bark and harder things like this next, and then the last would be things like leaves. Fortunately, at the KPC manufacturing plant, each herb is cooked at their own appropriate temperature and time. This allows for maximum potency of the herbal medicine. So how they're made is they have these really large vats, and inside these vats contain the herbs and water. They also have a very special volatile oil retrieval process. What they do is, as they start to cook the herbs, volatile oils start to be released, and so they actually take those volatile oils and they save them. And they continue to cook the herbal extract until all the cell wall opens and drops the constituents. So next what they do is they take that decoction and they shoot it up in another vat with either potato starch or the fiber, cellulose, that's been dried from the plant that they cooked. And then they mix that liquid and that fiber together to make a granule. And then at the very end, they add the volatile oils that they saved at the beginning to make a perfect extract. Many of my patients do elect this form of treatment, mainly because it saves time. They don't have to cook the herbs themselves, and that does take about 1.5 hours to 2 hours in some cases. So if compliance goes up, then my treatment strategies will be more effective. Now, many people have sought herbal medicine on their own. You will see health food stores full of herbal medicines. And very possibly you're someone that has gone and tried an herbal remedy at one point or another. Unfortunately, most of the percentage of those people who've tried this have been unsuccessful, and often herbal medicine gets a bad name as being ineffective. Well, the truth is that this health food store over-the-counter herbal medicine is what I like to call rinky-dink Fisher-Price herbal medicine. And the reason is the dose is never appropriate, and how do you know this is really the right herb for you? To be more specific, you should see a herbal medicine doctor who's qualified to prescribe their medicine and at the appropriate dose. If we look at the back of a bottle of herbal medicine from the health food store, a lot of times it'll say something like, take 3 capsules 2 times a day. And often this isn't an extract even, or it doesn't even give what the herb extract ratio is. So let's just say that it's crude herb, which often it is. That means they just took the herb, ground it up, put it inside of a pill. So if we're at 6 capsules a day, usually about 500 milligrams, which is 1/2 gram. So that gives us about 3 grams of herb. Now, my patients, I'm dosing them somewhere between 15 to 20 grams of extract a day. So if we do the math, this is somewhere around 75 to 100 plus grams of crude herb. Now, if you go back to the health food store analogy, you're taking only 3 grams of herb, so this is not going to do anything, good or bad. And this does prevent the companies from getting sued because they know there's not going to be much of any effect, good or bad. Only in rare occasions will someone have an allergy to them. Now, Chinese herbal medicine is much different. We're using very high doses, and as long as the dose is appropriate for the patient, then they won't have any side effects. They'll actually feel good. Let me use an example. You have one person whose system is very damp and wet. They have a phlegmy sinuses, they have a lot of mucus, maybe loose stool, etc. So I give them some herbal medicine that's drying, and I give them to them in a high dose. They have an effect because it's the appropriate dose, and it's something that they need. Now let's say that person who is really wet, I give them a bunch of moistening herbs. Well, it's going to make it worse. It doesn't mean that one herb is good, one herb is bad. It just means that they need something specific for their system. So this is why it's so important to make sure that you have a qualified herbal medicine doctor who can prescribe the right medicine at the right dose.